I never thought that they were separate. That's how I did it. In fact, every time a film picture editor puts a film together, by definition, you are also editing the sound because the sound comes along with the picture. To then go deeper with the sound really is just to say that you are interested in exploring this particular avenue of creativity. And I began working in sound before I ever started editing picture. And the first feature film that I edited was The Conversation, which Francis Coppola film, but the subject was a man who recorded sound. So those two things got tied together very closely by the very subject matter of the film. But really, they are really two sides of the same coin. We're after the revolution now. It has happened and really took place over a 20-year period, I would say. Probably for sound a little bit longer than that. And we're still discovering things about it, but there are a number of directors and cinematographers who still shoot on film, the physical substance, but almost all, I don't know of anyone who in editorial is using magnetic sound anymore. Everything has become digital, and it is a deep change. It's forced out into the open, I think, a conflict that was always present, but slightly submerged, which was the tension between spontaneity and control. That digital technology, by its very nature, allows you to control every pixel if you want to, and it allows you to control every audio sample if you want to. But it also makes it possible to shoot a short film in a single day because there is no laboratory involved. There is no mixing involved. It is simply you shoot it, and then on a very inexpensive editing equipment on your laptop, you can put something together very quickly, and that allows great spontaneity. But to get spontaneity, you have to relinquish control. If you want to shoot a film on Monday, today, that's the sky that you have. You can't, there's no alternative. And if that's the car that passes in the background, that's what happens. And spontaneity is very valuable. I think people can sense something that's spontaneous. It feels authentic. It is authentic. But at the same time, you can't have so much spontaneity that there is no control over things. So there's an inherent tension in there, and I think every filmmaker now has to decide for themselves and for every film that they make where the needle will go between, is this a spontaneous film or a very controlled film? And that will shift depending on the filmmaker and the film that they're making, and also it will shift over time. Well, there are many kinds of rhythm. There's the individual rhythm of the actor's delivery and the rhythm of the camera work that can go with that rhythm, and the orchestration in the directors of the blocking of the scene and how the actors move. That can be very seductive. And yet, if it doesn't fit within the larger rhythm, which is the flow of the emotion and logic of the story, which I think are the important things, then yes, if a performance stands out as being great, but it doesn't also serve this larger rhythm, then the chances are that it will be cut, and probably for the best. They need to be together in the same sense that dancers in a ballet need to be together. They don't always need to be clasping each other, that you want them to clasp each other occasionally, but you also find visual interest in the two dancers, or however many they are, going in different ways that are organized by the choreographer, but that seem to be having separate motivations. And then, of course, at the right moment, they do come together. So that's, in an ideal sense, that's how I like to think of sound, as this dancer that can go off, not off stage, it can't completely disappear off the themes of the film, but it can do things that do not strictly adhere to what it is that we're looking at. Well, no, it's a tremendous award, particularly coming from cinematographers, because there's a kind of, I don't want to put this in the wrong aspect, but there's a sort of fraternal dependence and rivalry between cinematographers and editors. We cannot do anything without the cinematography, and the better the cinematography is, the easier and better our work is. On the other hand, the cinematographers depend on us to present their work in the best light possible, which sometimes deviates from the original intention of the film. That the film that is intended to be shot sometimes winds up in a very different place at the end. I'm thinking of a scene at the end of The English Patient. We had to drop an entire scene for length, but also for thematic. It was a version of what you were saying. It was thematically off the beam of the story, and we only realized this really after the film was finished and cut together. So removing that scene meant we had to also remove characters from a scene that John Seale had very carefully composed with two characters, and we had to digitally erase one of those characters and imply that that Hannah, the Juliette Binoche character, was listening to a conversation happening below her room between Caravaggio and the patient, but that was never the intention during the shooting. So we have to abuse the cinematography in a sense in order that the film tell its story that as it is evolving in the final creation of it. And there is I guess you might call it the metaphysical obligation of cinematography, is not only to produce images that are striking on their own, but that are capable of being reworked. A cinematographer who produces images that cannot be changed in intention really kind of binds the film as a whole. And this is a very delicate, almost, I mean, nobody even talks about it very much, but it is a definite requirement, as it is the requirement of the screenplay, that the screenplay has to both be what it is, but also to generate the material that will allow it to twist in a different direction. So my model for this is the samurai sword, which has to be both extremely sharp, but also extremely flexible to allow it to do what it has to do.